Hello, world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, you know that I am still fairly newish to this whole uh, content creating world. And this is the very second episode, technically. Ooh, I don't know. It's the second week. It is the second week of Soulful Saturday. Last week, I ended up actually doing 3 episodes because of just circumstances that were out of my control. But nonetheless, I'm here. This is the Super Tea podcast show. The tea here is very specific. It's matcha tea. So if you're looking for hot topics, this is not the place to be. I am a spiritual teacher, and I am here to share some insights and to dive into a book that I feel is inspirational. And I'm not the only one who feels that it's inspirational. Other people have read this book and still read this book from time to time. And I wanted to share it here on my platform, the Super Tea Podcast Show, and give all of my audience and listeners an opportunity to be inspired and to spark some thought processes that perhaps they didn't think of before. So there is a lot that's going on cosmically, astrologically, and here on our wonderful planet Earth, and even more so here in our particular nation. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions. A lot of people are being bombarded and coming face to face with their inner emotions. And I encourage you all to embrace those emotions, but allow them to flow. And as my good brother Michael Beckwith says, the Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith, the founder of the Agape International Spiritual Center, take back your mind. Take back your mind. Don't allow people just to deposit things that you do not want, things that's going to inspire anxiety or fear. Reject it. Say no. You are the one that's supposed to have full authority over your mind. You are supposed to choose what goes in and what stays out. So, without further ado, we are diving into the seat of the soul, and we are diving into chapter 2 today. Most of us are accustomed to the belief that our participation in the process of evolution is limited to the duration of a single lifetime. This belief reflects the perspective of the five sensory personality. From the point of view of the five sensory personality, nothing of itself lasts beyond its lifetime. And there is nothing in the experience of the five sensory human that is not of itself. The multi-sensory human, too, understands that nothing of itself lasts beyond its lifetime, but it's also aware of its immortal soul. The lifetime of your personality is one of a myriad of experiences of your soul. The soul exists outside of time. The perspective of the soul is immense, and the perception of the soul is without the limitations of the personality. Souls that have chosen the physical experience of life as we know it as a path of evolution have, in general, incarnated their energies many times into many psychological and physical forms. For each incarnation, the soul creates a different personality and body. The personality and body that, for the five sensory human, are the experiential entirety of its existence are, for its soul, the unique and perfectly suited instruments of a particular incarnation. Each personality contributes in its own special way, with its own special aptitudes and lessons to learn, consciously or unconsciously, to the evolution of its soul. Each physical, the life of a mother, a warrior, a daughter, a priest, the experiences of love, vulnerability, fear, loss, and tenderness, the struggles with anger, defiance, emptiness, and jealousy, all serve the evolution of the soul. Each physical, emotional, and psychological characteristic that comprises a personality in its body, strong or weak arms, dense or penetrating intellect, happy or despairing disposition, yellow or black skin, even hair and eye color, is perfectly suited to its sole purpose. The five sensory personality is not aware of the many incarnations of its soul. A multi sensory personality may be conscious of these incarnations or experience them as its own past or future lives. They are in its family of lives, so to speak, but they are not lives that it itself has lived. They are experiences of its soul. From the point of view of the soul, all of its incarnations are simultaneous. All of its personalities exist at once. Therefore, the release of negativity that occurs in one of the soul's incarnations benefits not only itself, but all of its soul's others incarnations also. Because the soul itself is not confined to time. The past of a personality, as well as its future, is enhanced when a personality releases currents of fear and doubt. As we shall see, the release of negativity by personality benefits a great many other dynamics of consciousness as well. Some of these can be perceived by the five sensory human, but appear to him or her neither as dynamics of consciousness nor as related to his or her inner processes, such as the consciousness and evolution of his or her sex, race, nation, and culture. Others extend far beyond the perceptual ability of the five sensory human. A conscious lifetime, therefore, is a treasure beyond value. The personality and its body are artificial aspects of the soul. When they have served their functions at the end of the soul's incarnation, the soul releases it. They come to an end, but the soul does not come to an end. After an incarnation, the soul returns to its immortal and timeless state. It returns once again to its natural state of compassion, clarity, and boundless love. This is the context in which our evolution occurs. The continual incarnation and reincarnation of the energy of the soul into the physical arena, into our earth school. Why does this happen? Why is it necessary even to speak of personalities and souls? The incarnation of a soul is a massive reduction of the power of the soul to a scale that is appropriate to a physical form. It is a reduction of an immortal life system into a framework of time in the span of a few years. Perhaps they're decades, perhaps they're centuries. It is the reduction still in the big scheme of things. Those years, whether they be decades, whether they be centuries, are still only like a few. We're talking about mortal versus immortal. It's the reduction of a perceptual system that partakes simultaneously through direct experiences of countless lifetimes, some of them physical, some of them non physical, to the five physical senses. The soul chooses voluntarily to undertake this experience in order to heal and, in my opinion, also to expand, to grow. The personality is those parts of the soul that require healing, along with those parts of the soul, such as compassion and love, that the soul has lent to the process of healing in that lifetime. The splintered aspects of the soul, the aspects that require healing, need to interact in physical matter so that each part of the splinteredness can become whole. The personality is like a complex mandala that is formed from the splintered parts, in addition to the parts that are not splintered. It comes directly from the parts of the soul that the soul has chosen to work on in this lifetime to heal, that need to experience physical matter, and those parts that the soul has given to the process of healing in which you are involved. Therefore, you can see within a person's personality the splintered suffering of the soul from which it was formed, as well as the grace that the soul has earned, which is the loving part of the personality. Consider how powerful the soul is if it can have a part of itself that experiences great love, a part of itself that experiences fear, a part that is perhaps neutral, a part that experiences schizophrenia, and a part that is dramatically compassionate. If any of those parts are incomplete, the personality that the soul forms will be out of harmony. The harmonious personality is one in which the soul flows easily through the part of itself that is in touch with its physical incarnation. The soul is, it has no beginning and no end, but flows towards wholeness. The personality emerges as a natural force from the soul. It is an energy tool that the soul adapts to function within the physical world. Each personality is unique because the configuration of energy of the soul that formed it is unique. It is the persona of the soul, so to speak, that interacts with physical matter. It is a product that is formed from the vibrational aspect of your name, the vibrational aspect of your relationship to the planets at the time of your incarnation, and the vibrational aspects of your energy environment, as well as from the splintered aspects of your soul that need to interact in physical matter in order to be brought into wholeness. The personality doesn't operate independently from the soul. To the extent that a person is in touch with spiritual depths, the personality is soothed because the energy of consciousness is focused on its energy core and not on its artificial facade, which is the personality. The personality sometimes appears as a force running rampant in the world with no attachment to the energy of its soul. This situation can be the origin of what we call an evil human being. And it can be the origin of a schizophrenic human being. And it is a result of the personality being unable to find its reference point or connections to its mothership, which is its soul. The conflicts of humans' life are directly proportional to the distance at which an energy of personality exists separately from the soul, and therefore, as we shall see, in an irresponsible position of creation. When a personality is in full balance, you cannot see where it ends and where the soul begins. That is a whole human being. And that is why here at the SupaTea podcast show, we deal with you holistically. We don't tell you about what everybody else is circulating out there. We tell you about you. I share about me to inspire you to look deeper within you and to remind you that you are more than what we see right here. There is something much more deeper to you as also to me. I'm conscious of what is deeper within me, my soul. And I want you to be conscious of your soul and of your spirit and of your divinity because you got it. And when you're conscious of it, then your personality shows it and your personality reflects it. And anybody who interacts with you will get a spark of reminder and of remembrance of their very own soul and their own divinity. But I'm going to continue in this book. What is involved in the healing of a soul? Most of us are accustomed to the idea that we are responsible for some of our actions, but not all of them. We consider ourselves responsible, for example, for the good deed that brings our neighbor and us together, or for responding to it positively. But we do not consider ourselves responsible for the argument between us and our neighbor or for responding to it negatively. We consider ourselves responsible for having a safe trip if we take the time to check the condition of the car before starting. But if we speed around a car that, in our opinion, has been traveling too slowly and almost caused an accident by doing that, we consider the other driver to be responsible. If we feed and clothe ourselves through our successful business, we credit ourselves. If we feed and clothe ourselves by burglarizing apartments, we blame our difficult childhood. For many of us, being held responsible is equal to getting caught. A friend who returns each year to his native Italy told me, with a twinkle in his eye, of a dinner out with his family. When the bill came, my friend's father, who is fictitious, examined each scribbled item. After some study, he deciphered the last entry and recognized it to be a short expression that translates roughly, if it goes, it goes. He called the waiter and asked, "What is this item?" The waiter shrugged, "It didn't go." Many of us feel that if a clerk gives us too much change and we take it, our life has been affected only to the extent that we have come into an unexpected gain. In fact, each of our acts affects us in far-reaching ways. Every action, every thought, and feeling is motivated by an intention, and that intention is a cause that exists as one with an effect. If we participate in the cause, it is not possible for us not to participate in the effect. In the most profound way, we are held responsible for our every action, thought, and feeling, which is to say, for our every intention. We ourselves shall partake of the fruit of our every intention. It is therefore wise for us to become aware of the many intentions that inform our experience, to sort out which intentions produce which effects, and to choose our intentions according to the effects that we desire to produce. This is the way that we learn about physical reality as children, and that we refine our knowledge of it as adults. We learn the effect of crying when we're hungry, and we repeat that because that brings us the effect that we desire. We learn the effect of putting a finger in a light socket, and we do not repeat the cause that produces that effect. We also learn about intentions and their effects through our experiences and physical reality. But learning that intentions produce specific effects and what those effects are proceeds slowly when our learning must be done solely through the density of physical matter. Anger, for example, causes distance and hostile interactions. If we must learn this solely through physical experience, we may have to experience 10 or 50 or 150 circumstances of distance from another and hostile interactions before we come to understand that it is the orientation of anger on our part, the intention of hostility and distance, and not this particular action or that which produces the effect that we do not want. This is predominantly the way that a five sensory human learns. The relationship of cause and effect within the domain of physical objects and phenomena reflects a dynamic that is not limited to physical reality. This is the dynamic of karma. Everything in the physical world, including each of us, is a small part of dynamics that are more extensive than a five sensory human can perceive. The love, fear, compassion, and anger that you experience, for example, are only a small part of the love, fear, compassion, and anger of a larger energy system that you do not see. And I'm going to pause right here and just add in some insights. The whole concept and science of cause and effect is only a starting point of consciousness. As you dive deeper in your own personal walk and journey spiritually, you will discover that it is not the completion. Just like having these emotions in our physical bodies is only a small aspect, that emotion in of itself, that whole system in of itself is part of a larger system. What I would use for an example is our earth. um, Here we have many nations. Within those nations we have smaller units, states, cities, provinces. Within those states, cities, and provinces we have even smaller units of community, which is neighborhoods, which in neighborhoods, those smaller communities, we have families. Within those families, we have individuals. And then it the individual is the beginning. It is just the starting point of what creates the family, what creates the community, what creates the neighborhood, what creates the city, what creates the state or the province. And those things collectively create a nation or a country, and the countries all together create what we call Earth, our planet. Our one planet is a part of a much larger system. So they're smaller systems organized within bigger systems. So when it comes to cause and effect, that is a smaller system within a much bigger system. And the more you dive deeper within your spirituality and your spiritual practices, you will discover that there's so much more. You will tap into what's more because you're already connected to it, but you'll just consciously have access to it. And that will be through your multi sensory aspects to you. But I'm going to continue with the book. Within physical, because before I could even get into that paragraph, think of also school, and how when you start school, you start in pre-kindergarten and then you graduate out of that grade and that level of education, and you go into kindergarten, and then from kindergarten to first grade, and then from first grade to second, and then from second to third, and then from third to fourth. It is the same. It's the same. It's just another system. You graduate. You don't stay where you start at. But it's important to master the beginning so that you can be able to master each step along the way. So let's get back into the book. Within physical reality, the dynamic of karma is reflected by the third law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. In other words, the great law of karma that governs the balancing of energy within our evolutionary system is reflected within the domain of physical objects and phenomena by the last of three principles, three laws of motion that governs the balancing of energy within physical reality. The law of karma is an impersonal energy dynamic. When its effects are personalized, that is, experienced from the point of view of the personality, they are experienced as a reversal in the direction, a coming back to the intender of the energy of his or her intention. This is how the personality experiences the impersonal dynamic that is described by the third law as an equal and opposite reaction. The person who intends hatred for others experiences the intention of hatred from others. The person who intends love for others experiences the intention of love from others, and so forth. The golden rule is a behavioral guide that is based upon the dynamic of karma. A personalized statement of karma would be: you receive from the world what you give to the world. I'm going to pause right here because I was having an interaction with somebody, and I don't know if they are aware of everything that they are experiencing right now in their life is things that they either have given out or are giving out energetically. So that's how it works. That's how it works. This is how it works. That's how it works. These are universal laws. That's how it works. Karma, get back to the book. Karma is not a moral dynamic. Morality is a human creation. The universe does not judge. The law of karma governs the balancing of energy within our systems of morality and within those of our neighbors. It serves humanity as an impersonal and universal teacher of responsibility. Every cause that has not yet produced its effect is an event that has not yet come to completion. And since it has not come to completion, it can be changed. Meaning, for example, I'm going to take a pause from the book really quick. If you say you feel emotional and you intend something out of a negative emotion, but you don't you take an action. Or let's say you don't even take an action. Say you have a thought, but before you take the action, you decide you're going to pray, you're going to be still, you're going to meditate, and you're going to really, really see if it's necessary for you to take that action. And once you do those things, instead of that initial attention of you acting out negatively, coming back to you negatively, it doesn't happen that way because you change it. It doesn't come to completion. And let's say, for example, you do something that is has a negative intention behind it, and you put it out there. You can shift that before negativity comes back to you by putting something positive and by taking accountability and responsibility for what you have done and moving forward, elevating beyond that, forgiving, and just putting forth more good. But I'm going to go back into the book. All right. Every cause, I'm going to start from the beginning of this paragraph because I didn't put my finger there to see where I stopped. So I'm going to start from the beginning of this paragraph. Every cause that has not yet produced its effect is an event that has not yet come to completion. It is an imbalance of energy that is in the process of becoming balanced. That balancing of energy does not always occur within the span of a single lifetime. The karma of your soul is created and balanced by the activities of its many personalities, including you. Often, a personality experiences effects that were created by other of its soul's personalities, and conversely, creates energy and balances that are not able to right themselves within its own lifetime. Therefore, without knowledge of its soul, reincarnation, and karma, it is not always possible for a personality to understand the significance or the meaning of the events in its life, or to understand the effects of its responses to them. For example, a personality that takes advantage of others creates an imbalance of energy that must be righted by the experience of being taken advantage of by others. If that cannot be accomplished within the lifetime of this personality, another of its soul's personalities will experience being taken advantage of by other people. If that personality does not understand that the experience of being taken advantage of by others is the effect of a previous cause, and that this experience is bringing to completion an impersonal process, it will react from a personal point of view rather than from the point of view of its soul. It may become angry, for example, or vengeful, or depressed. It may lash out or grow cynical or withdraw into sorrow. Each of these responses create karma, another imbalance of energy, which in turn must be balanced. In this way, one karmic debt has been paid, so to speak, but another or others have been created. If a child dies early in its life, we do not know what agreement was made between the child's soul and the soul of his parents, or what healing was served by the experience. I actually went through that with my youngest child, and it was very shocking. It was very intense. It was very emotional, and it's been over how many years has it been? I think it's been 14 years. This happened in 2010. It's almost 15 years. This June will make 15 years, and what I realized is that at that particular point in my life is where I really consciously dove spiritually within and into spirituality. Before then, I was on the surface. I still had my generosity and I was involved in activities of service, but I hadn't went deep into spirituality. I was right at the surface, and that forced me to go deep because what I discovered was there was no way it was no way to be comforted, and I had like outrageous experiences almost immediately after. I want to say within the first couple of months after that, outside of the surface literal battle that I went through for my surviving child. And I hate to say surviving because it make it seems like we were in an accident or something. We wasn't. For my existing child, my child that was still in physical existing. Survival was a word that somebody else used and they imparted onto me, but that's not an accurate word. The correct word is existing. In the middle of the battle for my existing child's safety and well-being, I had several seemed like outer world experiences. One was like the next day. When was the next day? So the next day after my daughter passed, they they gave they gave me some task to do, um, and I just did it, because I was just like, I didn't. I was very sad. I was very physically sad, and they asked me to go to the hospital, to the morgue, to identify her, which was very like I don't even know how I would have even gotten through it if I didn't have a loving soul next to me, because she literally had to like she didn't physically carry me, but she definitely emotionally carried me. I felt like my soul like tried to leave, but it was still obviously tied to this body of mine's. And I remember feeling that weakness and collapsing, and I remember specifically the sun being out, but I could not see the sun shining. It was like grayscale. You know how these phones have filters? That's how I literally saw life, even though I knew the sun was out. Like, say you take a picture of the sun shining, right? And then you put grayscale over it. You're going to still see the sun shining, but you're going to see gray. You're not going to see the actual vibrant colors. Um, and that's how that experience was. And right across the street from where my baby passed away at, she was 6 years old, by the way. She died in her sleep. So she had a peaceful transition. She wasn't harmed. She wasn't hurt. She just went to sleep and didn't wake up. So she wasn't in pain, but I definitely, definitely, like heartbroken, broken wide open, And anyway, so we go to the hospital, go to the morgue. I have that experience. I have the grayscale thing happening with my vision, with my physical vision, and my sister is like, let's do something, let's go and get our nails done. So I'm like, whatever, I'm just like following like what she's saying at this point in time. So we go there into the nail salon, and they're Asian people, and the nail salon was directly across the street from the housing complex that this happened in. And ironically, it was a housing complex I was raised in that I returned to as my home, not even, again, knowing about spirituality, because there were so many different um, people that were trying to get me to leave from there. But I was like, this is my home. This is where I feel safe. In hindsight, I would have left. I would have went to the shelter with my two babies, and who knows how the experience would have been, because there were a lot of dark forces there, and I was so unaware of me, and that I didn't know that I was even coming up against those things, or that I could even survive anything like that, right? But anyway, there were other things in place, um, spiritually. So anyway, yeah, we go to get our nails done, and when we're getting our nails done, it's a lady. You can see part of her tattoo, and she has a tattoo that starts like at her shoulder, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And then she like turns around and lifts up her shirt, and it's literally a dragon that goes from there all the way down her back, all the way down her torso in the back to her ankles. And I'm like, who did that? And she's like, oh, my, she didn't say her sensei, but for some reason I knew that this guy was a sensei. Like I knew he was a top spiritual person, and he had hair that was all the way down to his ankles. And I was like, you did her tattoo? And he was like, yeah, he does tattoos. And I was like, you know what? I want to get a tattoo done. And so I got this tattoo done that very same day. That very same day, I got this tattoo done. What this tattoo means in Japanese is heal. Now, when I tell you how my nervous system was like, I don't know where it was at, because I think just part of me, just even though I was tethered still to this body, part of me was gone. Part of me was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with this incarnation. You know, um, but I was still tethered, and how I know I wasn't fully present is because of the grayscale. And when he did this tattoo, I felt nothing. I didn't feel nothing. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel no needles. I didn't feel no pain. I didn't feel no nothing. What I can tell you is after this tattoo was done, I could see color. Now, did I still feel emotionally hurt? Yes. But I could see color. So I literally experienced this physical body go through that shift. And what it did for me now, was recognize. It's an experience I can never forget. What it did was give me insight to how some individuals are living their lives. Some individuals are living their life in grayscale, where they cannot see color, where they are literally numb because of the pain that they may have experienced. Like they didn't come out of it. I was graced to come out of it, but there's some people that don't come out of it, and they stay there until they remember, or somebody comes along, because those are souls. Those two souls were souls that were just happened to be at the right place at the right time to assist me in coming out of that grayscale type of vision, and to bring feeling back into my body. So basically, to anchor me back into this incarnation, because obviously I have work to do, right? And there's been people, I remember being on 34th Street one time, another sensei seen me and could see, some people see auras. Some people can see auras. Aura is an energetic field, and they can see that. And he seen me, and he was like, and he went like to like do something of reverence, and then my soul just automatically through this body, through this personality, responded was like, shh, like, because it wasn't time. I still had remembering to do. I still had developing to do. I still had healing to do. It was not the time for me to be revealed at that point, But I remember that experience. And then I remember how other people reacted to me, people that were initially friendly to me. It was one particular guy because I've always been auditioning and looking to put my gifts out there into the world. And I remember auditioning and being quote unquote accepted for a showcase. And the guy who was running it, of course, he was a Mason. I didn't even know what a Mason was at that time, but I know just now, hindsight, you know what I mean? And they are a whole nother conversation. I would have repetitive dreams of those people individual literally chasing me from a little girl up until adulthood, like literally chasing me. And in the dream, I always thought that it was the FBI because I remember watching detective movies and the detectives were always dressed in the black suits and the, white collar shirts and the black ties. And I was like, I don't know why I always have that repetitive dream. But then again, as I dive deeper and I interact with different people, and I even like saw the face of one of them, um, and they never could catch me. They never could catch me. But then I allowed one to catch me, and that one I just knew was my twin flame and yada 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 blah 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 and all that stuff. But now in hindsight, as I continue on my growth and on my path, I realized why would my twin flame be chasing me? Like that don't even make any sense. So that's neither here and there. Once I got to this point where I'm at, because I literally like felt an ancestor. Now we got to jump forward. That was 14 years ago. Let's jump forward to right now, the here and now. I had an ancestor like reveal to me, listen, release that person, let that person go, and so that's what I have been actively doing. And as a result of actively letting that person go, what I have discovered is more and more of my freaking self. And like today was one of those days where it was just like, whoa. I found kindred souls. I found what I would like to say my soul sisters. And I'm just like, okay, all right, I'm being reminded of something that other people could very easily see. They could easily see because of their mystical practices. They can easily recognize the force within me. And some people don't realize, like, it's one thing to recognize a force within somebody, but that force that's within somebody else is theirs. You should never, ever, 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 ever try to tap into that, especially without permission, and try to siphon that for yourself because you don't know what the fuck you siphoning. If it was for you, you would have it. I mean, that's fucking common sense. I don't get it, and that's why I emailed uh, an organization today from the spirit, you know. I physically emailed them, but I spoke to them from the spirit because I'm like, listen, it is great to be curious. It is great to learn. Those are great things. I'm all for education, right? However, you have to also be mindful of your state of mind. Like somebody who is emotionally unstable, somebody who is greedy, somebody who is jealous, you cannot give precious knowledge to an individual like that because they will not be responsible. They will not come from a space of love and compassion, and I want to know these things so that I can be better and so that I can help other people be better, they will literally come from how much can I get? How much more can I get? How can I dominate a person? How can I rule over a person or people? So that's why certain knowledge, sacred knowledge, is meant to stay sacred. And I know a lot of different groups would like to say that they're keeping it sacred, but actions speak louder than words. If they really were keeping it sacred, if they really were emotionally intact and not jealous or envy or healing from trauma, then it would be reflective in their organization and in the lives of the members within their organizations. So it's great, once again, to be curious. It's great to know about your divinity. It's great to know about your soul, but you also have to treat things that are sacred sacred. And if you have this knowledge, um, you should focus on being your healthiest, healed, happiest self so that you can apply that knowledge not in a way of greed or to dominate somebody else, but for you to be your healthiest and happiest and inspire health and happiness in others. And that basically was the message I communicated to this organization because they're dealing with technologies that they don't completely understand, number one. Number two, what I heard is that they ain't supposed to be messing with those technologies, and I feel in my soul that they're not supposed to be messing with those technologies at this point in time, because humanity on a whole still has to remember its own divinity, its individual divinity, and respect, and not be trying to dominate one another. You know, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be dominating our own selves, our own lower selves that wants to continue to eat even though our belly is full. That's what greed is. Continue to take even though we got more than enough. Those things are the things we got to grow from on a whole. Individually, yes, you can only do that for yourself. But on a whole, we got to do that as well. And then once we have achieved that, we ain't going to have no war. What are we fighting for? Why are we fighting for the earth? And the earth has more than enough room for us. What we fighting for? Why are they bombing and killing and doing? For what? For a piece of land? Nah. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. There's more than enough space. There's more than enough space. There's more than enough resources. There's more than enough stuff here. Like literally, physically, there's more than enough houses and cars, and there's more than enough food. There is more than enough clothing. There is more than enough for the population. So the population does not need to decrease. It does not need to be controlled. We don't need these crazy, weird ass laws and all that other stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to the book because I can go on and on and on and on and on. Let's get back to the book, The Soulful Saturday. All right, where are we at? Oh, we was talking about children. All right. I'm going to start this paragraph over again. If a child dies early in its life, we do not know what agreement was made between the child's soul and the soul of his parents. And I'm gonna take one more pause because another thing I remember, I shared some experiences after my baby girl passed on out of physical incarnation. But I remember when she came into physical incarnation as well, and it was completely different than when my son came into physical incarnation. My son came into physical incarnation. I pushed his 9 pounds 1 ounce out, and I was like, all right, I'm taking a nap. And he spent time with my biological mom, and went to the nursery and all of that stuff. But with her, she came straight to me, and we just looked at each other. She just looked at me, and I just looked at her, and it was the most profound thing because I did not go to sleep afterwards. I didn't feel tired. I didn't feel sleepy. She was natural. I didn't have any medicine with her. She was over 8 pounds, so she was a good, big, healthy baby too. And like she stayed up under me. She stayed up under me. And the nurses was like, "Is it your first child?" And I was like, "No, it's my second." You know, they're like, "You act like it's your first." But it was just such a profound experience. It's like if she could speak, she would have told me like, "I'm not here to stay long," you know. But she couldn't speak at the time. We just had that connection, and it was profound. It was very profound. Let's continue with the book though. All right. Although we are sympathetic to the anguish of the parents, we cannot judge this event. If we or the parents of this child do not understand the impersonal nature of the dynamics that is in motion, we may react with anger towards the universe, or towards each other, or with guilt if we feel that our actions were inadequate. All of these reactions create karma and more lessons for the soul to learn, more karmic debt for the soul to pay appear. In order to become whole, the soul must balance its energy. It must experience the effects that it has caused. The energy imbalances in the soul are the incomplete parts of the soul that form the personality. Personalities in inaction are souls that are seeking to heal. Whether an interaction between souls is healing or not depends upon whether the personality involved can see beyond itself and that of the other personality to the interaction of their souls. This perception automatically draws forth compassion. Every experience and every interaction provides you with an opportunity to look from the point of view of your soul or from the point of view of your personality. What does this mean in practical terms? How does a personality begin to look beyond itself and to see its soul in interaction with the souls of others? Since we cannot know what is being healed through each interaction, what karmic debts are coming to conclusion, we cannot judge what we see. For example, when we see a person sleeping in the gutter in the winter, we do not know what is being completed for that soul. We do not know whether the soul has engaged in cruelty in another lifetime and now has chosen to experience the same dynamic from an entirely different point of view. As, for example, the target of charity, it is appropriate that we respond to his or her circumstance with compassion. But it is not appropriate that we perceive it as unfair because it's not. There are personalities that are selfish and hostile and negative. But even in these cases, we cannot fully know the reasons why. These are hidden from view. That does not mean that we cannot recognize negativity when we see it, but we cannot judge it. That is not our place. If we intervene in an argument or break up a fight, it is not appropriate that we judge the participants. Of one thing, we can be certain a person that is engaging in violence is hurting deeply because a healthy and balanced soul is incapable of harming another. When we judge, we create negative karma. Judgment is a function of the personality. When we say of another soul, she's worthy or he's not worthy, we create negative karma. When we say of an action, this is right or this is wrong, we create negative karma. This does not mean that we should not appropriately to the circumstances, that we should not act appropriately to the circumstances in which we find ourselves. If our car is hit by another car, for example, and the driver of the other car is drunk, it is appropriate that the other driver be held responsible through the courts for the repair of our car. It is appropriate that he or she is prohibited from driving while intoxicated. It is not appropriate that we allow our actions to be motivated by feelings of indignation, righteousness, or victimization. These feelings are the results of judgments that we make about ourselves and the other person, assessments through which we see ourselves as superior to another human being. If we act upon those feelings, not only do we increase the karmic obligations of our soul, but we also are not able to enter into these feelings and learn from them. Feelings, as we shall see, are the means through which we can discern the parts of itself that the soul seeks to heal, and through which we come to see the action of the soul in physical matter. The road to your soul is through your heart. If we are to engage the viewpoint of the soul, we must stop judging. Even those events that appear to be unfathomable, such as the cruelty of an inquisition or holocaust, the death of an infant, the prolonged agony of death by cancer, or a life confined to a bed. We do not know what is being healed in those sufferings, or the details of the energetic circumstance that is coming into balance. It is appropriate that we allow ourselves to feel the compassion that each circumstances call forth in us and to act upon it. But if we allow ourselves to judge these events and those who participate in them, we create negative karma that must be balanced. And we ourselves will be among those souls that choose to participate in circumstances that are necessary to that balancing. If we do not judge, how could there be justice? Good question. Gandhi was beaten several times during his life. Although on two occasions he nearly died, he refused to prosecute his attackers because he saw that they were doing what they thought was right. This position of non judgmental acceptance was central in Gandhi's life. The Christ did not judge even those who spit in his face and who subjected him without mercy to his pain and humiliation. He asked forgiveness, not vengeance, for those who tortured him. Neither the Christ nor Gandhi did neither the Christ nor Gandhi know the meaning of justice. They knew non-judgmental justice. What is non-judgmental justice? Non-judgmental justice is a perception that allows you to see everything in life, but does not engage your negative emotions. Non-judgmental justice relieves you of the self-appointed job of judge and jury because you know that everything is being seen. Nothing escapes the law of karma, and this brings forth understanding and compassion. Non judgmental justice is the freedom of seeing what you see and experiencing what you experience without responding negatively. It allows you to experience directly the unobstructed flow of the intelligence, radiance, and love of the universe of which our physical reality is a part. Non judgmental justice flows naturally from understanding the soul and how it evolves. Then, this is the framework of our evolutionary process, the continual incarnation and reincarnation of the energy of the soul into physical reality for the purposes of healing and balancing its energy in accordance with the law of karma. Within this framework, we evolve as individuals and as a species through the cycle of being unempowered to become empowered. Yet the experiences that we encounter in this process need not be the kind that we have encountered into now. That is the end of chapter 2. We will continue with the reading of chapter 3 next week, Soulful Saturday. But let's talk a little bit. Is there anybody here? Jose came in. I think Jose kept on going. Jose didn't realize what was happening. Um, well, doesn't look like there's anybody here right now. I'm going to end this episode and just thank you for your time, and also realize and share with you that there were moments that I was judgmental this past week. So I'm asking for forgiveness to the universe. Forgive me for being judgmental in any shape, way, form, or matter, and to offer forgiveness to others who may have been judgmental towards me. Um, because now I recognize that there's no need for that. And if I ever feel like a negative emotion about to engage, that is time for me to pause and self reflect on me and see how I can transmute that energy right then and there into something positive. Because, you know, I want good karma, okay? And I have a bunch. I have an abundance of it. And I'm grateful for that. I am. I really, 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 really am. And yeah, I'm appreciating everything, really, like literally everything. And it is an honor to still be here, to have obtained the wisdom that I have obtained, and I'm still obtaining some. I will continue to evolve and to learn and to grow and share. But I've gotten the okay that is okay for me. I have learned enough valuable stuff that I can offer insights, and I can teach from the experiences I have experienced already, and encourage others to dive deep within themselves, because this was a personal thing. This was not, a group thing. It was not a group thing. My spirituality did not become a group thing. I am at this point of my spiritual growth and evolution able to identify with a group, but I'm not officially like a part of the group. I do watch them, what they talk about and what they sing about and what they do resonates with my soul, but I had to discover my soul first. I had to discover my soul first. And that was a personal choice, and that was a personal journey. Now, it is wonderful that they are organizations and spaces that help to support individuals in doing that. But each individual has to do that, you know what I mean, for themselves, because you are just with you all the time. Yes, you can go to a space and place that is a safe space that is going to remind you of who you are, but you ain't gonna live there. You know what I mean? Like, you gonna go home. You gonna go home. You're gonna be faced with experiences, and you are going to ultimately have to have your own individual spiritual practices and have your own individual spiritual growth and revelations and experiences that are unique to your soul. So, with that being said, we will continue reading The Seat of the Soul next week, Soulful Saturday. Thank you for tuning in to the Super T Podcast Show. Please be sure to read the description. Okay? There are links in the description where you can get merch, where you can support the Super T Podcast Show, because I think it's only fair. We have a good, equal energy exchange. Remember, the tea here at the Super T Podcast Show is a specific tea, and that specific tea is matcha. If you want to know more about matcha, make sure you read the descriptions. It's an acronym and it's an actual substance. Ceremonial green tea. Okay. Thank you.